Hey folks, I thought I'd do a video to show the place I live in Wurm Online. Last time I made the introduction video and we were just sort of sailing along the shorelines of Xanadu. And after I had made that video I actually got many requests to see the island that I was living on. So we're going to have a look now. We're just coming in to the harbor in a moment. And it's nighttime right now in Wurm and it's raining, as you can see, so by the time we're done with this video hopefully it will be already dawn and we'll be able to get a glimpse of what the world looks like also in the morning. So when I first found this island, I could just tell a little backstory about it. So when I first found the island it seemed a little bit useless. I mean, it had a tar tile and it had also clay, and these are both materials you need a lot in this game. So in that sense it was a good island, but it didn't have a single vein of ore at all in the whole island. Like I prospected every single tile of rock that I could find, and I couldn't find any veins at all. And I thought, man, the view is gorgeous, the size, although a little bit on the big side for one person, is still quite nice. There's going to be a lot to do on this island. However, there wasn't any metal, and in this game you really need iron to survive. Or not survive, that's a bit dramatic, but to be able to really do anything. So let's just moor this ship. There we go. And before we go off exploring the island, I just want to explain a couple things. So this video is probably going to be very much full of me making sort of pauses in the way that I speak, just because normally I'm not so fluent in English since I've been living abroad now for well over 20 years, and my English is a bit rusty at times. So when I was doing the introduction video I was actually just reading from text that I decided to write down text because and then I was just reading from that because I knew that otherwise I'd forget like a lot of important things about Wurm, and I just wanted to remember to say everything that was, you know, crucial. So yeah, so if I make pauses like I am now, that's the reason my English isn't that good anymore. Anyhow, let's start the tour. Starting now with actually for those of you who do not play Wurm, you can see that you can just sort of hop right into the water and start swimming as well. So you cannot actually dive though. That might be kind of fun if they implemented that someday, that you could dive underneath the water, and maybe they put some clamshells or something at the bottom that you could go and find. That would be pretty cool. I did enjoy that in WoW, like looking for clamshells and looking for, I think some of them had pearls, I can't remember. So anyhow, this is the harbor. As you can see, it's a work in progress. This is one of my latest projects in the game. I usually have many projects going on at the same time, and well, I'm one of those people who starts something and a lot of times never gets it finished. So but yeah, I do have to finish this harbor. The only problem is that I'm having a really hard time sort of deciding what I want to put here, whether I want to sort of keep this open, this beautiful view, or whether I want to, now that the bridges have been implemented, there could be this possibility to do all kinds of cool things with bridges and have a little bits of land here and have bridges connect over that, sort of like in the medieval towns. You know how there's these canals? That might be a kind of cool idea. I don't know yet. I am, however, designing this harbor in Google SketchUp. Well, it's not owned by Google anymore, but I like to still call it Google SketchUp. And it's for people who, I mean, you can design a lot of like quite small things in Deed Planner quite well, but if you really want to start planning out the geometry of the landscape, Google SketchUp is a good way to go as well if you know how to use it. so I've been using that. But we'll see what I do with this area. And actually, just to go into the purpose of this video, so yeah, I'm going to be introducing my island, and this is going to probably be the most boring video ever for a lot of people out there, but to be honest, it's more for myself than for anything else, because it's a nice memory of what this place looked like. And actually, come to think of it, it's a shame that when I first moved here that I didn't make any kind of, I took a few screenshots, but I didn't really document like what the place looked like when it was completely untouched land. That would have been cool. But yeah, at least now I'm gonna do this, and you know, in a year or 2 years, it'll be really cool to see what this looked like back at this point, because by then I'll have developed it further, I'm sure. So this is the warehouse that I was mentioning in the introduction video when I was boasting about the capacity. You see, my English is not so good. The capacity of inventory in this game, and I was saying that you could actually fit like 500,000 items in my warehouse. So let's go and have a look. Now that it's nighttime, it's kind of nice to show it off, because the lights are, you know, the torches are lit up and it's dark outside and it's kind of cozy in here. So so yeah, I have my chests and bulk storage bins and weapon racks and all that kind of. It's a bit messy looking right now, but it doesn't matter. And here's where you'll usually find me smithing away and having the forges lit up, and it gets quite cozy. And here I have, it's a very high building, and I sort of wanted to give it this nice warehousey kind of feel, so I've kept these walls open so you can see the crates up there. And speaking of crates, I kind of wanted to discuss something. So these crates are mostly full of dirt right now, which I was digging in one site, and I was thinking, yeah, because I found this abandoned deed, and it looked like nobody really would have much use for it, so I thought, this would be a good place to dig a whole bunch of dirt, and then I'd have it in storage, and then when I would be ready to, you know, start terraforming my harbor, I'd have all that material to work with. However, it's been a couple months now, and already lots of the contents have disappeared from there due to the system in Wurm, where I think it was like 5% are lost every month from bulk storage bins and crates, and I'm not quite sure why they do that. I mean, there could be, like, from a sort of game developer's point of view, I guess there's a couple of reasons why they might want to do that. First of all, I'm not a programmer, so I don't know whether this is something that the code has to sort of calculate the inventory of the players, and whether that makes things, you know, more laggy or affects performance somehow. I'm not sure. Even if the items are not like physical ones, it's still something that the code has to sort of calculate and keep information of. Another option or reason that they might want to do this is because, you know, when there's things called money sinks, where you need to create a way for players to be spending their money so that they have something to do, and the money will have value, as they will feel a feeling of, you know, fulfillment from working hard to do great things and get money, and so that they don't actually start to have so much money that it loses value, that you need to have like money sinks where the money will actually go, and you won't end up with, you know, just like hundreds of players with banks full of money and completely bored out of their minds because they've sort of gotten to the top. But in the same sense, you might think about raw materials that you're gathering. So let's just say that I gathered all the dirt I wanted, all the rocks I wanted, or shall I say stones, Yeah, rock shards. Yeah, it's rocks. And all the wood I needed, and all the wool, and so forth and so forth. I might feel like I have nothing to do anymore. So if you lose some of the contents each month, it will sort of keep me on my toes and make sure that I don't, just save stuff and get bored. I'm not sure if that's one of the reasons or not. However, I would like to say that I feel the amount lost every month, was it 5%, is a bit rough and a little bit demotivating. So this is what I suggest. I think they should make it so that when you improve a crate, so when you first make a crate, it's poor quality. The wood is not so good. There's maybe, there's spaces between the boards. Stuff is falling out. The wood is not so healthy, and maybe it's a little bit moldy, so you sort of lose contents due to that, like if you want to think of like realistic reasons why that would happen. But if you were to improve the crates and bulk storage bins, you would lose less and less of the contents. So let's say a crate is of 5 quality out of 100. You would lose maybe 30% every month. But if you improved it up to, say, quality 20, you would only lose the 5% that we're losing now. And if you get it all the way up to like over 90 out of 100, you would hardly lose anything at all. Like maybe like 1% every few months or something like that. And that would really give a lot of incentive to improve your crates and storage, and it'd be a kind of a fun thing to do, I think, as well. Yeah, an idea. So, enough looking around of the warehouse. Let's get going on this tour. And since it's nighttime, it's a little bit boring to look at the place at nighttime, since you can't really see the details. So what we're going to do is just take the horse here and go on a tour of the mines, since it's nighttime inside there all the time anyhow. Yeah, and and you can also see I've started a caravel, so so far I have 3 boats, a gnar and a sailing boat and a little rowboat over there. And actually the sailing boat was my first boat that I ever did. You would think that most people would start with a rowboat, but this was my first baby. And by the way, I must say as well that I'm really, really loving the new bike, the new boat skins. They're really pretty, very nice. And actually, I guess the meshes were changed as well. Yeah. But yeah, really digging it. I do hope, however, that they make it so that the different woods affect the skins at some point, because I know people love that sort of side of the game. So, and yeah, so I've started a caravel, which is the largest ship kind, and I was just able to start building it. So one of the things I need to make here into the harbor is actually a shipyard, so I can start building it safely. And right now it's just started, so there is very little chance of anyone stealing the caravel. So for people who don't know, I think it's still existing, this thing that if let's say I had built pretty much the whole ship already and there would only be like one piece to add anymore, if somebody were to trot over here and add that last piece, they could actually take ownership of the ship. I think it's still that way, I'm not sure. But anyhow, since the ship has just started, there's no danger of that, since it's going to take probably months to build this thing. At least for the gnar, I think it took me 2 months to actually build that on my own. So, yeah. Anyhow, let's go into the mines. This mine has not actually been properly opened up. I've just made an opening there. It's going to be connecting to the rest of the island at some point. But let's go over here instead. And we could just, while we're at it, let's make a little circle around this peninsula here and go in from the other side just to get a little bit of that view at night time. So, as was mentioned in my introduction video, there are no sort of zones or instances, and upon entering this mine, you know, I can see inside of it, and once I go inside, there's no sort of transitioning or loading screen or anything like that, and I can see out. So I love that thing. It's really like immersive, I think. I'm so glad that Wurm has been built the way it has been in that respect. I really appreciate that. And let's go over here. So for my mines, I actually made a map to plan out exactly the way I want to build it, or rather say tunnel it. So it may look a little bit of a mess, but actually it's very carefully planned. And most of my mines exist here on the ground level, because obviously you would want to make your mines at the very sort of widest width and length of your mountain, because then you're going to get more rock tiles to mine from and find the veins from. So for people who don't play Wurm, when you're mining rock, there's a chance to discover a vein of metal, and they look like this, so they have a little bit of a different texture. And what I've done here in my mines is pretty much sort of hollowed out the mountain and just left the veins standing there, which is really, really nice, because then you can just immediately spot and you don't get lost in a whole bunch of complicated tunnels. And I've done the same thing over on this side as well. And as you can see, actually this area is huge, and I think anyone who has played Wurm can fully appreciate what a lot of work it's been to sort of hollow out these areas, because it takes like it takes around 50 mining turns to actually get one rock tile removed. So that's been a lot of mining, and my mining is quite high these days, the skill for because of that. So, and I guess it would have also raised my sort of body stats as well, like strength and so forth, quite nicely. So yeah, let's just have a little walk through here. And the fact that this is covered in water was not intentional. I was meaning to just make it as you know, just have a rock floor, but actually I quite like the way this is. I do believe, however, if I were to put a forge and try and light it, it would not light, because it would give some kind of error message about being too wet or something like that. So if I ever do get around to the point where I need to mine something from here and smelt the ore like right there, and then I will probably raise the floor a little bit for a forge. But yeah, my aim is, like, this is still a ongoing process to hollow out my mountain, but I'm about halfway there so far. And some of you might find it a bit confusing, like, why would you? Because the thing is that this rock here gives the chance to spawn new vein tiles. So I guess the ultimate way to do things would be to discover new veins and sort of protect the area around those, and then allow the other rock tiles to just sort of fall in. How would you say, when the sort of rocks tumble down, and then it becomes a virgin sort of rock tile again, and then you would be able to sort of respawn new metal veins. But on this island, it's big enough so that I actually have quite a few veins here, so I'm not really worried about that. Now let's go and pop outside and just have a peek and see whether or not the sun is rising yet. It looks like it's maybe around, if I look at the sky, yeah, it looks like it's just about to hit dawn. You can see it's this kind of like misty, not dark anymore. There's like not a few stars in the sky, but yeah, I think dawn will be hitting soon. So when I first came to the island, this was probably the first thing I did was I made this little dock here so I could get my ship nicely parked up to bring my stuff and so forth. And oh, and this that's playing in the background, this is actually the MMO adventuring playlist on Spotify that I was mentioning earlier in my introduction video. So I think it gives a good sort of example of how different gameplay would feel with music that would be a little bit more epic than the Wurm music is. Maybe this is just a little bit too sort of like movie soundtracky, this music, that it could be more suitable for a game, but it does really affect the atmosphere of your gameplay a lot when you have music that's very atmospheric and melodic and epic in that way. And yeah, this was actually the first road that I did when I got to the island, because I needed a way to get up to the top of the mountain. And let's just park our horse here on the grass, let the horse do some grazing. There we go. This is the tannery, and I have not yet furnished it inside. It's just containing my leather so far, but I will be furnishing it in the best way that I can to make it look like a place where you would, do the skinning and handle the hides and make leather and stuff like that. And then next to the tannery is the tailoring building that I have, and nice little fireplace. Actually, maybe I could just light that up just to show non-Wurmians how sort of cozy it is when you have a fireplace sort of lit up in this game. So let's just make some kindling. And light that fireplace up. There we go. Isn't that cozy? So yeah, sometimes I haven't worked on my tailoring skills too much yet, but I can make a few basic things like, like the carpet. So far I can't make any of the other carpet types yet. Oh, I actually have a comment about the carpets. I absolutely adore these new carpets that they brought into the game. However, if you just sort of look at the old, first of all, the sort of the colors used in the building materials of the house, and then the old carpets and the loom, and then you just compare. Do you sort of notice something? Which is that although the beautiful rich red color, and I really like the sort of RGB value that they chose for this red, I prefer this sort of orangey red much more over a more sort of bluish red. However, I would say the saturation is just going a bit overboard, because the new carpets, at least the red one, I don't know about the other ones yet, but they're a tad too saturated, I think, that they don't quite match. I mean, even if you look at this view right now, the first thing that's sort of glaring at you is the red carpet, a little bit too colorful. So just a bit toning down of the saturation might be worth it, I think. Yeah, but this is the tailoring place, and quite cozy. It's beautiful in the mornings as well because, you know, the view over the sea here, it's really quite beautiful. And a tub for, like, if you were to imagine washing the cloths and the, you know, soaking the leathers and so forth. Not that you would actually do it with that tub, but it's sort of nice to imagine. Let's just grab that horse again. And also happy about being able to finally make myself a wagon. It took a long time to get my fine carpentry up enough to be able to make one of those, but it sure has made life easier. And this tunnel goes, it connects up with the one that we were at down below in the bottom of the mountain. And actually the tunnels in the mountain, they're all designed in a way that I can not only use them for looking for ore veins, but also to get myself around the island. So it took quite a lot of planning to make it just right. Let's just have a peek what it looks like over here. Is the sun just rising? Not quite yet. The sun will soon rise around that area. So the sun does actually come up on one side of the world and goes down on the other. Yeah. Oops. There we go. Oh, and I have to say that, so this is the deed token. I think that's what it's called. Settlement token, sorry. So, I'm so glad they made it so that you can plonk your settlement token down at pretty much anywhere and then fully scale the size of the deed in any which way you want. In the old days, as many of you will remember, it had to be dead center in your deed, and you had to really carefully think about how to place it. Oh, and while we're up here, might as well just have a peek down. So there was the harbor where we first started off, and there is the stable area, and we're going to visit there a little bit later when the sun comes up. Up here is a castle that I actually finished building already, but this, as you can see, has been built before the walls without the trimming. So now these days you can actually make a more realistic stone castle without these wooden trimmings. I mean, I do like them, but I would prefer to use these, you know, on the sort of in areas that they suit better. I don't, here it just looks weird when you have many levels of these trimmings here. So, and also another mistake I made making these castles, or it's actually like one castle but it has just like two wings to it, was that I made them a little bit small. So we're gonna go and have a peek inside. Let's just have a little look at the view from up here. And I really need to put some kind of fence here because I'm sure if somebody comes to look at the island, they might fall to their death, and I'll be held responsible, so that would not be good. Yeah, nice view out to the sea, and I think in this garden I'll probably put some, you know, garden furniture and maybe some, well, it's kind of nice to have a little archery thingy. What is it called? An archery butt? Let's see. Archery target. Yeah. As something like for fun to do outside. Come on, horsey, you can do it. Get up there. I have to say that turning while on a saddle, like on horseback, is a bit tricky to sort of get used to in the beginning. There we go. So, I have not yet furnished the castle from the inside, probably partially because I sort of realized that, yeah, it's a bit small. I mean, a castle is supposed to be huge and epic. And in the deed planner, it looked, because I think the perspective in the deed planner is a little bit different than the game view. Of course, the new deed planner, it seems to have two views, so you can look at a more realistic Wurm perspective, and then there's the classic deed planner perspective. But it gives a more sort of a fisheye type of view, which gives the sort of illusion that it's a much bigger space. So in the deed planner, I was using the old one, and it looked much bigger, but then when I actually got around to building this, I realized that, man, this is a bit too small for a living room of a castle. It's cozy though, I'll admit that. And in Wurm, as you can see, unlike a lot of games where if you build a building or you're inside a building, you know, there's just gonna, like, I think WoW is a good example of that. So the windows will just be like a texture, but here the windows, you do actually see out of them. That's kind of cool. Yeah, we're not going to go upstairs. There's not really much to see. There's a bedroom there, but I haven't really furnished this place very well yet. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just tear down these castles and make like a good proper big one now, especially since we have the narrow windows and all those cool new parts that you can add to a stone building. So in that sense, it'll be kind of nice to have this video as a memory of this old one, the first castle I ever made in Wurm Online. Goodbye, castle. So now we can see, actually. Oh, and I should mention that this island actually has just the most gorgeous view. But I have so many trees here, they've just sort of grown wild, and I need to cull them and just chop a whole bunch down and just open up that view, because now all you can see really is trees, but as we shall soon see as we go to see the... Yeah, I guess that must be the sun behind the horizon, I think, or is the sun... Yeah, it's somehow... You can sort of see a... I think it's sort of shining through the... Would it be there? Maybe. Not sure. Yeah, beautiful. And soon those night sounds of the crickets chirping will be gone, and then the birdies will start doing their daily song. Oh, is there a ship? Is there somebody sailing by? Yes, there is. We should wave to them. Let's see. Where's my chat window? Here we go. Safe sailing traveler. Maybe I could just... too far away, I can't do the sort of wave emote, but that's a fine ship. I think that's the Caravel, actually. The one that I'm working on below. How beautiful. Let's just go and admire that as that from the other side over here. Already gone. Oh well. Oh, there, she thanked me, or he. I would imagine that's a woman, though. Oh, my horse got stuck. Okay. Let's just lead that horsey out of there. Silly. Silly horse. So sometimes in the game, if you sort of run right into a corner, it doesn't happen very often, thankfully, but sometimes you will sort of dismount from that. Oh, I just missed asking her more. Well, I'm sure she'll be able to navigate. Okay, hold on. What's going on? Oh, yeah. Well, no wonder. So... there we go. I remember when I first started playing Wurm, hearing the sort of that sound of the rock. Oh, there you go. That rocks falling sound, or that you can hear the sort of sand seeping in and the pebbles falling down. It would just freak me out so much. I thought that the rocks were gonna all come tumbling on top of me and I would get squashed. But I don't think that sound actually has anything to do with the actual probability of a caving in. I don't think so. I hope not, at least. So yeah, this is a kind of strange looking room, and like the other ones that I showed earlier, it has these vein pillars of copper, so I can quickly find them, and we're actually just gonna head a little bit back down and go the sort of more scenic route up to the stables. There we go. One thing that bothers me a little bit about the game is that if you have tiles such as this gravel or peat, you cannot control at all. Like, these black peat tiles are so ugly, so ugly. I would love to be able to get rid of those. Like, it would be really nice that they introduce some sort of... They should introduce some sort of skill, like, I don't know, terraforming, or maybe there's a little bit more eloquent word to use for that kind of skill, but something that, you know, if you were to get high skill in sort of the way that you would shape and form the land, then maybe at a very high skill level you would be able to sort of terraform these tiles and convert them into something more useful, or because I mean there are tiles that you can already change. For instance, everyone knows who plays Wurm that I could make this into a dirt tile, or I could cover this rock tile with dirt and it would become, you know, then grass might start growing on it. Or another example is if I were to sprinkle, if there's a dirt tile and I sprinkle some sand on it, it converts to a sand tile, and so forth. But however, these tiles, since they cannot be packed, I cannot actually put any road tiles on them, so I'm sort of stuck with them right now, and I do hope they make something to solve that problem at some point, because that just does not look nice at all. So now we're nearing the sort of livestock area of the island. Here are some young horses and my cows and bulls. Over there, and I was lucky enough when I first came to the island that there just happened to be one bull and one cow, so I was able to start a herd from those two. Oh, and there's the harbor down there, and we shall go up and see the stables. Just admire that view just one more time. I mean, it's only, you know, mesh and texture, but there is just something about a beautiful view, even if it's a virtual one, that's just so calming to the mind. We can see the sun is just hidden behind the clouds over there, and oh, just so gorgeous. I mean, you know, after a hard day at work, and then just sort of logging onto the game, and you know, everything's handled from the day, and just sort of looking at those types of sceneries is just so, it's really relaxing. So these are the stables, and as you can see, I have quite a few horses. I've gotten my animal husbandry up to, I think it's about 46 right now, so that means that I'm able to recognize all the speed traits, and all of these horses here are actually 5-speed horses. My next goal is to improve my animal husbandry, you know, over 50 and over 60 and so forth, so I can get more and more, just a few of the extra nice traits that there are existing. Just, it'd be kind of nice. Yeah, but I need to, I have a little bit, like, one person does not need this many horses, so I'm gonna have to sort of look into how, like, do people sell horses, or are they even worth anything, these 5-speed horses? And I could swear that when I first started Wurm, I was visiting what's the word? Visiting a market, and I could swear I saw these sort of places where people were selling their horses. It was some kind of tile, fenced tile thing. I'm not sure if there's actually a mechanism in the game that allows you to sell horses without even being there. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look into that. And then here is the barn. So next to the barn we have a couple of chickens here, and I would just like to say that even though I've played the game now for 1.5 years, it was only recently that I realized how you get more chickens. So up till pretty much now, I thought you had to have a rooster, and you had to have a chicken, and then you would breed them just like any other animal. But in actuality, you don't need any roosters at all. All you need is one chicken, and the chicken has to be on level ground, like these ones, these level tiles, and it has to be natural habitat, so grass or dirt or something like that. So for instance, the enchanted grass, I don't think that actually works. And then they will just start laying eggs without any rooster at all. So this is actually the first time I've ever been able to breed chickens, because I didn't realize you had to do these things. Again, if I would have just checked Wurmpedia, that would have saved a lot of effort and confusion. I should have just done that first thing. And yeah, let's just have a little look here into the barn. So it has this sort of little balcony here, and this used to actually be, I was using it as a workshop originally, and I had my forge here and would be smithing, but now I've made it high like the warehouse, and I wanted to sort of, I kept these sort of unfinished walls to give it a sort of barn type of feeling. And I should probably decorate it with more barny types of things, like, oh, I don't know, some piles of grass and things like that. But for now, it's just sort of storing my extra wagons and carts and so forth. Oh, and I could mention the enchanted grass, so I can actually enchant grass, which is a great thing. So for people who don't play Wurm, horses and other livestock, they will actually nibble away at the grass, and they will eat it until it actually just runs out on the tile. Now, normal grass is like what you see here. So if I were to have a horse on this, it would be eaten up in a couple days. However, enchanted grass, if you raise a certain skill, you can get a capability to enchant grass, which makes it never ending. So that's really handy. And just traveling along this sort of diagonal road here, a wish for the developers would be that, you know, I really wish you guys at some point could make the, you know, the diagonal tiles, which are just like a triangle. We have it now for the normal cobblestone, but it would be really nice if we could also get the round cobblestone and then the rough cobblestone as well in that, because then I would probably actually redo this. And I'm not sure. The fences might be a problem. Yeah, because we can't do diagonal fences. So actually that wouldn't help much, at least in that spot. But maybe somewhere else. Yeah, you see, I was going to go and have a look at the view again. Although we just looked at it, it's just like, it just pulls me. Now, going up to the stables. So, you can see here are two stable stalls, and stable stalls would actually serve an actual purpose in the game. Because then if an animal got sick, you could, you know, bring it in here and just quarantine it, put like a pile of grass or something for it to eat. But the only problem is that right now, even though we can have fences on the bottom level of a house, unfortunately we can't have the gates. And I would love to put gates right here. And then they'd be just like real, like stable stalls. That would be so nice. The way I've solved it right now is I've just put like entrances out of the stables right outside in case I want to put animals in there. And you may be wondering, well, you know, there is no gate there, so wouldn't they just sort of walk out? Well, they would from these ones, but I do actually have a horse in quarantine over here. So I've made use of this, what is this called again? Siege shield. So yeah, these were just introduced into the game recently. They brought a whole bunch of new PvP contraptions, and I'm so glad you guys made them work for the PvE servers as well. Like, I'm definitely going to be building some of those, just as having as you know, decorations around the place. So that's really nice. But right now it's actually working as a wall, like a stable wall for the horse, because it does actually have collision, so you can't go through this thing, and neither can the horse. So yeah, it's kind of working as a stable stall, but I would prefer the gates though, I really would. And I need to decorate here as well. Some saddle stands would be really nice, piles of hay, and I remember we had saddle stands in Ultima Online. That was really nice. It was a really nice way to decorate your stable area. Now, let's see. Where shall we go next? We could go down the orchard. Too many horses. Way too many horses. Well, at least I can butcher them and get some meat if I need to. But it seems like kind of a waste since they're all such good horses. This here is my food storage building. So I have the orchards here, and if I would be... Well, all these all the trees here are fruit-bearing trees. So we have the apple trees up there, lemon tree... No, these are cherry trees, lemon trees, and so forth. And if I would be doing a lot of farming right now, all of these sort of level areas here, along each row, they would be crops. And here you can see I actually have some pumpkins that I really need to harvest before they go bad. And as I mentioned in the worm introduction video, different plants or trees and bushes and so forth, here's some grapes, they have different seasons when they ripen the fruit, and that's really, really cool part of Wurm as well. I like that. And here is this beautiful little area to sort of sit and relax and, you know, have a nice chat with someone. However, we cannot sit, so there's not really much you can do here right now, but I will not start my event on sitting again. But it would be nice, because then you could actually use spaces like this. Like, who's gonna come here and just sort of stand around? No one. Let's have a look down here. I haven't done anything to this part of the island yet, and it could be that I just leave it wild. A friend's boat. He was playing Wurm ferociously for a while, but I think he sort of burned himself out, because he went just like... He was just doing so much with the game, and I think it was taking all of his time, so he sort of decided to quit for a while, and he's keeping his boat with me. I'm taking care of it, and he may come back and live with me for a while before he gets started with his own place. And here is the harbor area. And this is where we started off with in the beginning, and I think we've come a full circle around the whole island. And it's probably around 9 in the morning. Let's just actually check time. Event. Oh, 7:13 in the morning. So the birdies are chirping. It's a beautiful day, it's just starting. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've never played Wurm, this at least gives a nice picture of all the cool things you can do in this game, and just how much freedom you have in like building. Like, you know, after... You know, I tried Shroud of the Avatar a while ago, because being an old Ultima fan, how could I, you know, resist trying Richard Garriott's new so-called like Ultima game. And just the fact that houses are just this one plot that you have, and the house is pre-designed, you can choose from a few different designs. It felt so restrictive, and it's really hard to get a house as well. Well, not hard, but it's a lot of, you know, it costs a lot, so you would have to work a lot to get enough money saved up to buy a deed. Whereas when you think about in Wurm, I mean, you can start the same day, and within one day of your very first Wurm day, you could have your first house built, like a small one. So sorry about that, got interrupted there, but I was just gonna say that after experiencing such an open, free game such as Wurm, it's so hard to go to any other MMO that is so restrictive now. So anyhow, I hope I didn't fall asleep during the video, and maybe this was most interesting for those people who have not yet tried the game, and it gives you a good picture. And for me, it's a nice memory of what this island looks like at this point in time. So maybe, in maybe 1 year's time, if I've developed the island further a lot, I'll make another video and we'll see how much has changed in that time. In any case, I'm gonna sign off now. So, as they say in Wurm, keep on worming.